Okay, to set up the system, here's what I've been doing for steps. First is to turn on the UPS. It's just this round button here. You hold it down, it'll make a loud beep, and then it's on. Then turn on the voltmeter, which is just this power button here. It takes a minute to start up, but then it'll display the voltage. Yep. Okay. Then getting the electrode ready. There's a small filler hole right here for the electrode filling solution. So you want to open that up, take the plug out like that when you're ready to run a sample. Then you want to take the sleeve off of the electrode. It's hard to do one-handed. Hold on. Okay, I loosened it up so the sleeve just slides off. I've been putting it in this bottle here just so it won't tip over. The sleeve has a storage solution in the bottom that you'll have some in the shipment, and so you can add a little bit if you need to. Okay. Then the protocol just calls for using tissue. We use Kim wipes. Maybe I'll try and send you a box to just kind of pat the electrode off. I typically rinse the electrode with distilled deionized water, but they tell you not to do that, so we'll just follow that protocol for now. Okay, and so now the electrode is ready to go, and we will work on the sample next. Okay, now I'm going to try and draw the sample. I'm going to pull the stopper out. There we go. I'm going to use the 50 milliliter pipette. I've got it attached to this pipetter. I think you have one in your lab already. Put it right down inside the sample bottle. Draw the sample up to the 50 ml line that's marked on the pipette. Okay. It's a little fussy, so there. Now I'm going to put it right into the jacketed beaker. It takes a little while. And like the video said, there's going to be some left in the tip of the pipette. We'll just leave it there. Okay, now I have 50 mils of sample. Put it on the stir plate. Add a stir bar. Put the electrode in. There. Okay, so there's the electrode, the stir bar, and the sample. I'm going to turn on the stir plate. You want to stir it pretty vigorously, so you want to get that little indentation in the sample that tells you that it's stirring fast enough. And you can see that the millivolt reading has responded since we put it into the solution. Okay, I'm going to pause and then we'll go over getting the titrant ready. Okay, I'm going to pour some of this titrant into this little beaker just because it's easier to draw out of. Each titration is going to take about a little less than 2 milliliters, so you don't need a whole lot. Okay. Then I have my 2 acid pipettes here. I'm going to start with the 1.25 milliliter pipette, which is already set for 1.25. And you'll have a bunch of these tips as well, although you should be able to reuse the same tip, I think. So, I'm going to push in the plunger until it hits the first stop, like that. If you push it in further, you're going to draw in too much, so you just push it down until you feel it stop. And then draw in the acid. Now you'll see that there's some drops of acid left on the tip, on the outside of the tip. So I want to take a tissue, it's hard to do with no hands, and wipe that off. So only the acid that's inside the tip will get added to the sample. Okay. Then put the pipette into the sample, and now you push the plunger all the way down. So now all the acid's gone, and the millivolt reading has changed a lot. At this point, after you've added the 1.25 milliliters, you wait 10 minutes. So I'll pause the video and then we'll do the rest of the titration steps. While we're waiting 10 minutes, I can show you the spreadsheet a little bit to calculate the TA. You put in the salinity of the sample. The mass is calculated from the sample volume. Oops, sorry, I'm showing you the wrong worksheet. Over here, where it says grand, that's where you want to start. There. Okay. Up here, your sample volume is always going to be 50 milliliters. You'll calculate the mass based on the salinity and the temperature. I've put in the acid concentration for this batch of acid. And then at the end, we'll put in the titration temperature. And down here is where you put in your volumes of acid added. So I can clear these. So we start with 1.25 milliliters. And after 10 minutes, we'll record the voltage, not in millivolts, but in volts, of the pH electrode. And then we'll add another dose of acid, record the voltage, and so on and so forth. Over here, it'll do the grand calculations, and the TA estimate will show up over here. Okay, it's been 10 minutes, so we can do the rest of the titration. We're going to use this repeating pipetter to add doses of acid. The pipette tip that's on here is a 0.5 milliliter tip, and the pipetter has this chart on it that tells you the different volumes that are added for that size tip, 0.5 milliliters, depending on what setting the pipetter is on. Right now, I have the pipetter on setting 2. So for the it's going to be hard to see, I'm sorry, but for the 0.5 milliliter tip, that setting means that we're going to be adding 0.02 milliliters, or 20 microliters, each time we dose. So the tip attaches through this lever. Oops, sorry. So if you push this down, the lever pops up, and then the tip will just pop out. We're going to lock the tip down. this plunger's all the way down. Put the pipetter into our titrant, into our acid. Push the lever all the way up to fill it. And then I've found it's best to just push the plunger down once, do one dose. I found that the first dose isn't accurate, so push the plunger down once to do a dose, then take it out. Again, I'm going to wipe the tip on a tissue just to take any acid off of the outside of the pipette. So now we're ready to go. You can see that after 10 minutes the millivolt reading changed quite a bit. I've already recorded that first reading here in the spreadsheet. So now we're going to add 0.02 milliliters, so this 1.27 volume will be the total amount of acid we've added. So you just take the pipetter, insert it into the sample, and push the plunger all the way down once. Take it out. The electrode should adjust really quickly, so we can take that millivolt reading, 19774. And now we're just going to repeat this process. Add. And I just put the pipetter down in between 200.20060. Okay, I'm going to pause while I do the rest of the acid additions. Okay, I've done 12 acid additions, I believe. That's a lot. You could probably increase the amount of acid you dose for each one and make it a little bit quicker. And now I'll just turn off the stir bar. I have my thermometer. I'm just going to take the temperature. .8. Okay. And I'm just going to put it in the spreadsheet here. We can go over all the calculations, but the estimated TA is 2215. This is batch 198, so the certified TA is 2200.6. We're a little high, but when we do this nonlinear least squares, NLLS correction, it should bring it down a little bit. And just trying to do it one-handed, I probably didn't do the best job. So I'll do it a couple more times and then tell you what the results are. But that's the basic procedure. At this point, you can dump out the sample out of the flask and pat off the electrode with a tissue. Very gently. Sorry. And once you dump out and rinse and dry the sample beaker, you're ready for the next sample. So that is the procedure.